So we have two block glass windows that view right into our showers. Right now, the building next to us can't see anything of substance through those windows because their vantage point is lower. Anybody on the third or fourth story of this new building will be able to see right into our showers, avoiding all privacy from me, my lovely wife, and our preteen child. So we have two block glass windows, avoiding all privacy from me, my lovely wife, and our preteen child.
I am sorry to say that we have our first public meeting to discuss a murder at 5th and 8th tonight or tomorrow night, and that's really upsetting for Dinkytown, and that's one of the potential hazards of inappropriate density. Thank you.
This density bomb in this one space that has the potential to disrupt enjoyment.
In the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've seen an explosion of high-rise apartments.
Density bomb.
We already have congestion. This kind of crowding, and I would call it crowding. G'day Makasa, if I've got that correct.
Density bomb.
An explosion of high-rise apartments. Crowding congestion.
Density bomb.
G'day Makasa.
This development, it's supposed to be market value rates, but all of the apartments on the south side will be seeing and hearing the train as it goes through. Seeing and hearing the train. And then at least a third of the apartments will be looking on the roof of Aldi. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't choose to be spending a ton of money for that view. The roof of Aldi.
The destruction, not only of my neighborhood, but all those in the city of Minneapolis. If the present 2040 plan is approved as is, my death will be hastened.
I also have a picture that looks very similar, and I will show it to the everybody. That's the housing for Pripyat outside of Chernobyl, and it looks very similar to their building that they are planning on building in my neighborhood. And I'm sorry that I called it a prison before. I was wrong. I found the better picture. Thank you. And I hope you don't approve this, because this is going to ruin our neighborhood. That's the housing for Pripyat outside of Chernobyl.
In terms of radiation, I'm told it's the equivalent of a chest x-ray.
No, Chernobyl is on fire.
This is going to ruin our neighborhood. And it looks very similar to their building that they are planning on building in my neighborhood.
Tell me how to put it out.
You are dealing with something that has never occurred on this planet before.
And I'm sorry that I called it a prison before. I was wrong. I found the better picture.
Madness.
I'm offering a little bit different perspective here. I don't actually live in Minneapolis. I live in Andover, but I own an apartment. My family uses it as a vacation home. And we do that because my children, who are 8 and 4, love to go to the lake. And we don't want to drive 2 hours to go to the lake. And they love our building. And that's going to be destroyed. We're not going to want to come down here and be right next to this giant building that's going to block out our views of green spaces. That's going to make me so nervous that I'm not going to want to walk over to the lake with my kids.
If you're as old as I am, you remember when what our city was the Fauché Tower. And wasn't that great to see the Fauché Tower wherever you were? There's Minneapolis. Well, we can't hardly see that from anywhere anymore. And wasn't that great to see the Fauché Tower wherever you were? There's Minneapolis. Well, we can't hardly see that from anywhere anymore. So I think if we want to think about, and it's tricky because of course people should get to build stuff around the Fauché Tower. This is downtown, and I mean I'm not saying I'm opposed to all those buildings, but so all of us have grown up in the city, and if you're as old as I am, you remember when what our city was the Fauché Tower. And wasn't that great to see the Fauché Tower wherever you were? There's Minneapolis. With approval, I want to have the city council.
Density Bolsheviks, that's who. Who are density Bolsheviks? Well, the density Bolsheviks are coming to town, and they're gonna burn your single-family house to the ground. They'll plop a huge-ass building in its place where you're only gonna get 65 square feet of space. Density Bolsheviks don't care what you think. They'll chop down the trees, man. They'll drive you to drink. Density Bolsheviks won't leave you alone till you're living in a box and chewing a bone. Density Bolsheviks wish for pie in the sky. Their dreams are too small and their buildings too high. Density Bolsheviks, please comprende. People like to live in houses, and that's the way it's gonna stay. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. My name is Dan Johnson.
Hi, I'm Leah Johnson.
My wife and I, Leah, moved here in 2012 with every intention of it being a starter home and moving on. We are now considering building onto our house and staying in the neighborhood.
We're literally seeing gentrification happen in this neighborhood, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see neighbors have to leave.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes.
I'm a property owner in this neighborhood. I've been in this neighborhood since probably 50 years. Yeah, this piece don't fit. You're talking about stuffing a bunch of shit in a 2-pound bag, you know what I mean? It don't work. And yeah, this piece don't fit. You're talking about stuffing a bunch of shit in a 2-pound bag, you know what I mean?
I'm the landlord and own the building. Those tenants, Izzy's, Poosh, Taste of Love, Rising Sun, Midway Cleaners, are hard-working business people who need to have parking, and I'm very familiar with the lack of parking. The lack of parking will change the flavor of that neighborhood because businesses will not be successful. And if they're not successful, what happens is these businesses will fail. My cleaners will fail. Other tenants will take their place. Vulgar sex shop paraphernalia places have come to me and asked to rent. A tobacco shop with e-cigarettes. Would love to move in where Taste of Love is. Pool halls would like to enter into Choo Choo Bob's. There is no parking on Cleveland, and people come in and park in my drive-through, and then another car pulls behind them, and a third car parks in. There's simply not enough parking. To permanently penalize these businesses is a terrible thing. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I have one of these built already, actually, in my ward, and then he built the accessory dwelling unit on top of the garage without the plans reflecting that. Somehow, let me tell you again, you know, you folks know how hard we work on trying to prevent this kind of stuff, but we just do not have the tools or the capacity to prevent it. It got built. It was being used for prostitution. The accessory dwelling unit was being used for prostitution.
Spaces that are small and made smaller, they do become habitats for vagrant activities, including defecation and drug dealing.
Something interesting happened to the millennials. Millennials found their other cities that answered their needs for quaintness, history, and social progressiveness. History shows the millennials moved on.
I'd like just to chime in briefly as an actual millennial. Walkable transit, the bikeways, pay rent, transit, walkable transit, the bikeways. I would absolutely consider living in a neighborhood like the one, like Marcy Homes, locating people in places where they don't need to depend on a car. So I would strongly urge the committee to reject the appeal and support the proposal. Thank you.
And yes, next speaker, please state your name and address for the record.
I moved to 50th and Bryant 25 years ago because I wanted to be in the city. I like the atmosphere. I didn't move to Woodbury where there's lots of parking. I moved there because I wanted to be in the city. It's never solid no parking. There is parking there. It's just you sometimes have to walk maybe a half a block, God forbid.
Now walk it out, walk it out, now walk it out, walk it out, walk it out, walk it out, DJ Montana Trap, walk it out, DJ walk it out, we at it again,
But I think it's a good idea. And by the way, our property value has gone up, not down. Thanks.
What happens when you Google these images? And it's pretty clear that church is meant to be a building. You Google church, that's what pops up. Pictures of a mosque. Pictures of a synagogue.
I want to talk about democracy. Democracy was created as a response to feudalism and kingship. And if you haven't recently revisited the speech given in these chambers 2 years ago, 3 years by your colleague Gary Schiff,
7 years ago,
I suggest that you look at it again. It can be found at GarySchiffSpeech.com.
Linden Hills is very special. It's very unique. And the volume of emails that we have received, some might say is NIMBYism, but I say it means that this is an engaged community. This is a community that loves the existing character.
How many parking spots are going to fit in that lot? It's pretty safe to guess that there's going to be a car for each one of those rented apartments. I mean, I love the car-free city vision, but these are renters. You know? They don't live in the city full-time like the property owners do. They're going to have to park somewhere.
Bike parking seems to be a high priority. I mean, nobody will take the bus to go to these restaurants.
There's not space for parking for these cars. And I'm concerned that there won't be any parking for anyone.
I've been in the area my whole life. I am one of 2 people, I think, in the entire area that's blessed with a driveway.
When you walk down the road, heavy burden, heavy load, I will ride.
Our garages were built for 1 car. I have 3 cars.
It just so happens I have a big truck. Well, unfortunately, I need it to move around my boat twice a year. I also have a little Honda Civic to make up for the carbon footprint. It just so happens I have a big truck.
But I'm going to freak out. I might have to turn into a terrorist because the way it makes me feel to breathe diesel would make me mentally disturbed enough that whatever.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Living Hills overlay will cease to exist in the zoning code. I maybe
and the site plan review. CPAD recommended approval of all those applications. Industrial context, a variety of heights may be appropriate, so it does have some similar language in terms of this being one of the areas where there is not a significant amount of this
outlines overarching goals for the comprehensive plan, and then we also have some important context there. Now, the steering committee for the comprehensive plan reflected back what we heard. Just some examples of some of the input that we heard.
In context of 2016, I think in 2026, people would look back if this were to be approved, or if it is approved, I think people will say, why did they put, the people are going to raise environmental issues, which haven't really been discussed tonight, and say, why did they put a drive-through where 10 cars are stacking up, emitting exhaust into the atmosphere in that location?
Stepping back, 30,000-foot view, what do we want? I want a use that I go to with my family. I want a use that engages the community. I've got a 5-year-old in the car seat and a 1.5-year-old in the car seat. I got 10 more years of car seats coming, and so does my wife.
You know, the slide speaks for itself, but the drive-through is so very important to us. It's not only mom and dad that need the drive-through. We're enhancing the economic vitality. We're turning barriers into opportunities. Obviously, it's walkable, functional, attractive. It's going to be life-filled. It's going to be filled with life.
A car takes up 22 feet in a queue, but that's 8 to 9 cars backs this up. And that we're going to see that even after the dual left turn lane is added. So is this going to be is this going to be a situation you can live with? Or is this going to feel, do you not want this level of congestion here?
What we are willing to do in the development agreement is if there is a stacking problem on Interlochen, figure out a solution together. Whether that's a traffic cop, me sitting there with a paintball gun and shooting people that are waiting.
We came up with 14 reasons as to why we think this is a great project. Number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. We believe we alleviate a lot of pressure on Starbucks. 7, we add 15% more green space. 8, 9, we provide a huge art wall and get rid of what I refer to as the very ugly beige wall. 10, we have 3 sidewalk connections. 11, parents with kids in car seats love drive-throughs. 13, we capture the traffic on the way into work.
People that can't get out of their car.
Anyone wishing to be heard in opposition?
I'm here tonight to oppose this plan of bicycle lanes.
It would inconvenience myself, my husband, and many of my neighbors. It would make quite a bit of a hike for anybody who would have to park a block and a half away.
We estimated there to be 257 parking spaces and an average of 8.6 cars parked, so that equates to 3% parking utilization.
We have 3 children who have children of their own that are small. They'd have to park a block and a half away and walk up to our house. For one, it takes the value down on my home. Who's gonna buy a house there when you can't park on the street?
But I certainly agree with people about taxpayers losing their parking spots.
I pay property or taxes on my property.
I pay taxes, and I won't have the right to park on my street.
I pay taxes. I hate to see money like that just get spent. I mean, we've been paying taxes for years, and we need our parking spots.
I've lived there for almost 30 years. I've paid taxes. I'm not willing to share the parking that's in front of my house with, the people across the street because they can't park.
The city and county both talk about equity, valuing the storage of private property on public roads over safe travel for all actively works against equity.
I know the tax thing has been brought up. You pay taxes on your car, you pay taxes on your property, you pay taxes on street maintenance, all that stuff. I also pay taxes or license on my car, my motorcycle. I got a four-wheeler, which I paid license on that and everything to keep that legal. Yet I can't drive that on the street. It's got headlights, taillights, blinkers, you can add that. It's got a horn. Why can't that be on the street, yet you're putting a bike out on the street?
We're lucky enough now to have a RV later on in life.
So, when did you get the tenement on wheels?
Oh, that's an RV.
And every year I got to bring it up, park it in front of the house, and get it all ready to go.
Shitter was full!
Well, if this bike lane goes in, next time I got to bring it up, there might be cars parked there, so another inconvenience.
It's a good-looking vehicle, ain't it?
Yeah, it's so nice parked in the driveway.
On the second one from the corner, the house on the corner, there is a bus stop. That's 80 feet you're supposed to be back. That's 20 feet into my property, or in front of my house, plus another 21 of my driveway. So I'm down to 19 feet. I got a truck that's 18 feet. So I can only get one vehicle in front of my house. I got my truck, my son's, my daughter's, and then my husband. That's 4 vehicles. Where are we supposed to put these? Across the street is rental property. They got duplex, 2 of them side by side, multi-vehicles. I told my husband before I even heard any of this that somebody's going to end up getting killed on this street sometime this year. Now, if you end up putting this bike lane in both sides and eliminating parking, it is going to happen. I can guarantee it.
Kind of naturally makes those areas a little bit more. Okay, well, it'll be on YouTube later if you wanted to review it. This is a part of, okay. Cars traveling,
Okay.
Thanks.
The public hearing is closed. There's no back and forth. No back and forth.
Okay.
No
All
back
right.
and forth. We are all volunteers. No back and forth.
Just
No
All
back
right.
and forth. No
All
back
right.
and forth. We are all volunteers. No back and forth. All right.
Anyway.
And is there Commissioner Magrino?
And I'll just add, I know traffic is something that people get very upset about. In this general sort of uptown area, traffic is actually down fairly significantly in the past 15 years, which and everyone,
Okay.
Thank you. So if you check the city's traffic count management system, I think it's reflected on there. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I know as we've had, thank you. And so I know that there's been other areas in the city where there's sort of a similar situation where there is a parking lot there.
You suck!
This is to scale the Witch's Head Tower. I did not know paper towels were exactly 11 inches tall. This is a 4-story building. This is the 15 3/4 inch scale that Vermilion is proposing. I thought this was the right height, and it was too short, so I had to add that. This, if you turn it this way, to lessen the view from University Avenue, you will completely block the eastward views of the Witch's Hat Tower. And if you turn it this way, the entire face of the building is facing the historic district neighborhood.
In case you don't recognize my little prop here, it's from the movie Up. I'm starting to feel like the old curmudgeon in the animated film who lost his wife and continued to live in his home for years until it was completely surrounded by high-rises. He comes up with the plan to move his home by tying balloons around it and floating it to an idyllic spot.
My name's Carol Becker, and none of you have the balls to stop this. And I'm looking at all you in the eye. None of you have the balls to stop this. You guys could have the balls to stop this. I'm asking you guys, have the balls. We need something different. Have the balls.
I thought, other than the balls commenter, I think this was an extremely respectful conversation.